You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, and welcome to Mission Matters Live. I am Megan Mio, Director of the Global Mission Office in the Archdiocese of Chicago. And you're listening to Mission Matters Live, a program focused on promoting a spirit of mission among the people of God in the Archdiocese of Chicago. You're listening to WNDZ 750 AM, and Mission Matters airs on the second Wednesday of the month at 8 a.m. Central. Thank you for joining us. This month, we have a panel who will be discussing the topic of youth and mission. Youth as in young people, young adults. We are blessed to have with us two guests. We have Deacon Don Grossnickle, who is both ministering at Our Lady of the Wayside Parish in Arlington Heights, and he is founder and executive director of the MicroFinance Alliance Africa Projects Foundation. And with MAP Foundation, he works to expand medical care access for impoverished mothers and babies in the poorest villages of Uganda. And eagle ears and eyes will remember Deacon Don from previous shows. A little over a year ago, maybe, we had Deacon Don and one of his partners on. We also have with us Brother Peter Lamick, who is a member of the Clerics of St. Viator, also known as the Viatorians. The Viatorians are an international religious congregation of priests, brothers, and lay associates, and the province of Chicago, of course, is headquartered right here in Arlington Heights. Brother Peter is director of the Vocation Ministry for the congregation. Today we're talking about youth and mission, young people and mission, and each of us here will be offering our perspectives on this topic, drawing from our experience. But first, I'd like to just take a moment to greet our guests, and we'll start by saying good morning, Deacon Don and Brother Peter. Thank you for joining us, and welcome. Can you hear me?
Good morning to the listeners. Yeah. Good morning, Megan. Good morning, Brother Peter.
Hello. Brother Peter, are you there?
Good morning, Megan. Deacon Don, it's great to be here with you.
Good. Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful to have you both. Now, I gave just a brief introduction to each of you at the start of our show today, but I'd like each of you to tell us a little bit more about yourselves. What would you like us to know about you? So please tell us about your connection with mission and service for and with God's people. Deacon Don, would you get us started?
Well, I was ordained in 1988 by Cardinal Bernardin. Wonderful experience being blessed by the Holy Spirit to serve God's people. 35 years. I am so happy now doing work in Africa. My career was I was a biology teacher and a secondary curriculum director, and now retired. So I'm spending all my time going to Africa, mostly a long distance through Zoom. So that's a little bit about me. And I might say that youth has inspired my career. The father of three kids with my wonderful wife, and just can't get enough opportunities working with young people.
Wonderful. Yeah, and of course, as an educator, you certainly worked with a lot of young people in the course of your career, and working with mothers and babies, looking very interested in youth in Uganda. So, Brother Peter, tell us about yourself.
So, Deacon Don and I share a special connection. He baptized me at Our Lady of the Wayside Parish in Arlington Heights. And in fact, I was his first baptism. And so my vocation story, my faith journey, really kind of started in a special way with Deacon Don. I grew up in Arlington Heights, and my family was very involved in Our Lady of the Wayside and St. James Parish. I attended St. James grade school and then attended St. Viator High School, where I first met the Viatorian priests and brothers. They were my teachers, campus ministers, coaches. And in college, I really started to think about religious life. And a year out of college, I joined the Viatorians in particular because of their focus on young people and involving young people in the mission of the church. I professed perpetual vows in 2019 and have been teaching in some of our high schools in North Las Vegas and here in Arlington Heights at St. Viator High School, and also coaching football, basketball, and also participating in a lot of like youth retreats, service programs, and in particular, like directing the Service and Song, which is a week-long service program during the summer for elementary school students led by high school students at St. Viator High School. So just great to be here with you and discuss this really important topic.
Excellent. Yes, and I know with your vocation ministry now that the discernment is a big piece of it, that young people in getting involved in all these different kinds of activities you just described, this is all opportunities to be reflecting on your faith and where that might be taking you with the course of your life. Wonderful. Well, I was asked to kind of get our panel discussion started in this first segment of our show. So if it's all right, I'll just get right into it and tell you some reflections from my own work as the director of the Global Mission Office in the Archdiocese. I've been in this ministry for about 10 years. And originally, actually, I was hired to be a mission educator with young people, with kids, teens, young adults, all the age ranges. And now being the director of the office, we have a pretty small team. I kind of do a lot of different things. So I don't have as much time, unfortunately, to go out and visit parishes and visit schools. But I have occasionally been given that invitation. And I would say, actually, you mentioned, Brother Peter, the baptism. This is a wonderful segue because especially when I'm talking to really young people, grade school-aged kids, we'll talk about that baptism really is that first step, that as a baptized person, you are baptized a missionary. You have the ability to become a missionary through your baptism. So there isn't any level of age that you have to reach in order to become one. It's something that anybody is capable of doing as long as we have that faith to be shared. Anyway, so lately, because the month of October is the month of World Mission Sunday, we call it Mission Month and Month of the Rosary, I have been invited to visit schools and talk about my work and then also talk to the kids about what it means to be a missionary. And just recently, I had visited a grade school and gave my little spiel, which always starts with, as a baptized Christian, we are missionaries. All of you are missionaries. And we'll talk about, what is that definition of a missionary and say, this is kind of in a nutshell what I often say is the missionary is somebody who's willing to go anywhere, wherever God may send them to share Jesus with others and to also to learn about who Jesus is, wherever they may go. And we'll talk about, maybe someday you may be able to travel around the world, but even if you're just here at home, you can absolutely be a missionary. And I would say that the kids are wide-eyed. They are so open to hearing this message and to be told that they are actors in this. Now, of course, those are the younger kids. When you talk more about the preteens and the teenagers, it is sometimes a little bit of a different story. But one thought I wanted to share, too, is that mission, I feel like, is one of the most attractive things about our faith. Really kind of walking the walk, putting our money where our mouth is to really enact our faith through outreach, service with our brothers and sisters. It's sometimes going outside of your comfort zone, and it can really bring young people in. I think it's one of the things that might be the most attractive thing for a young person. I really feel like mission is something that sort of speaks for itself in many ways too. When we're out and we're living it, doing it, it doesn't need a ton of explanation typically if we really are truly loving our brothers and sisters and serving. But I would say too, from my own experience as a young adult, my own experiences of mission and going out, it came down to relationships, the people I went with, the people I met along the way. All those relationships were so key to my own journey. The experience of opening your eyes to the realities around the world, sometimes open your eyes to poverty, open your eyes to injustices, open your eyes to just another person's perspective is so important for a young person. That alone, I think, can be challenging, but can also be really attractive to young people. Certainly with reflection, and I often say you gotta reflect on the experience. It can deepen your faith as well, absolutely. Young people are looking to also make a difference in the world, and I do believe that service, mission, is very attractive as a way of experiencing that. And finally, I think that young people really love to be able to take the lead and say, I am a missionary, I am a leader. I don't have to follow what somebody else has already decided, and I'm just going to follow along. So some of the organizations that my office has worked with and have kind of followed some of these kind of themes that I just mentioned, Catholic Volunteer Network works with a lot of young people, kind of gets them situated with organizations and people who are doing some of this work already. They can work with them. One high school graduate a couple of years ago during the pandemic contacted my office. She was going to go on a mission experience with Consolatio, an organization that has communities in different parts of the world. Young people go and they just live with people and they just listen and they're just present. Really interesting kind of mission experience. And Mary Knoll, too, has a young adult engagement community that really takes seriously that idea of young people taking the lead when it comes to mission. Let young people decide what they want to do with their time and energy and what kind of a difference they want to make. So those are just kind of my initial thoughts. I know this is a panel discussion, so we're going to keep talking. And just finally, I want to say that I myself had an early mission experience when I was in college. My school said, you got to have this study abroad experience. I did not plan on it. I did not want to go, but I wound up going for about 2.5 months to Oaxaca, Mexico, and it changed the whole trajectory of my life. My faith, my relationships with people, my openness to new cultures, new contexts. Coming to Chicago, I rediscovered Mexico here. It has really led me to where I am today. So I just personally, that's where a lot of that comes from, is that, that was my experience. I want to share it with other people. So now we have run out of time in our first segment. It's time for our first break, but we'll be back to continue our discussion, continue this panel with Deacon Don Grossnickle and Brother Peter Lamick. Stay tuned.
Caring adults make all the difference in the lives of adolescents. Catholic Charities understands this, and our mentorship programs provide a free opportunity for young adults to spend time with volunteers who genuinely care about them. This program is ideal for youth aged 9 through 12 who may need support navigating the challenges of childhood and early adolescence. Our amazing volunteers serve as friends who help youth recognize their strengths and empower them to reach their full potential. Catholic Charities conducts a thorough background check on every volunteer, and our program coordinator closely monitors and supports every relationship. Mentoring is a fun after-school program that can help young adults build confidence and enjoy fun activities with their peers, too. To learn more, visit CatholicCharities.net or call 312-655-7970 in Cook County and 847-782-4224 in Lake County. We're connecting youth with great role models. Join us today.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning. Because really, you are changing lives, you are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program has assisted thousands of single parents who are working to become more self-sufficient through education and employment opportunities. Our experienced case managers accompany participants for up to 5 years on their journey to identify, address, and break down barriers to improving their quality of life and achieving meaningful goals for themselves and for their families. Professional, compassionate assistance is offered in a safe and trusting environment as participants develop the skills needed to become financially stable and able to support themselves. Every achievement starts with a decision to try. To learn more about Catholic Charities' Family Self-Sufficiency Program, call 847-782-4233 or visit CatholicCharities.net.
Welcome back to Mission Matters Live. I am Megan Mio, Director of the Global Mission Office. I'm here with Brother Peter Lamick, who is the Director of Vocation Ministry for the Viatorians, and Deacon Don Grossnickle, who is Executive Director of the MicroFinance Alliance Africa Projects Foundation. And here we've been talking about the reality, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities around the topic of youth and mission, young people and mission. Now, I feel like I was doing a monologue there at the end of the last segment, but I was sort of sharing some of my thoughts and reflections about the particular role that mission can play for young people in our church, how mission can really draw people in. But I now ask Brother Peter. This is a panel discussion that we're having, so I'll say a little bit, Brother Peter, then Deacon Don, and we'll respond to one another as well. So, Brother Peter, will you take the microphone now and provide your own input and experience on this topic? How, especially in your role as a vocations director, how does your ministry kind of lead you to think about this topic?
Yeah, in the late 1990s, the U.S. bishops published a document called Renewing the Vision, a framework for youth ministry. And more than a program, they presented a vision of church, a church that involved youth in the life, community, and actual mission of the church. And this really set off so much creativity and innovation in the church. And there continues to be a lot of new developments, new creativity, new innovation that gives me so much hope for engaging youth in the mission and for our church. My own life, personally, I think really benefited from this new vision of church that was very much inspired by Pope John Paul II as well. Someone who was very attentive to young people, spoke to young people, and very much kind of wanted to shift the church's attention to youth. In this kind of document, they talked about the role of families. They talked about the parish, Catholic schools, youth ministry, and they talked about it in a really comprehensive sense of involving youth in the mission of the church. And I very much in my own life benefited from all of that creativity. When people ask me, what led me to decide to become a brother or a Viatorian, it's really difficult for me to point to one person or one experience. There were so many people who had an impact on my faith. A retreat I had, a freshman retreat at St. Viator High School, where I had really great small group youth leaders who were juniors and seniors in high school. Several brothers who taught me in the school and just had this, great enthusiasm for teaching and really relationship builders. A Benedictine brother who invited me when I was in college to go do some outreach to a poor community in central Illinois, in Pembroke, where I encountered, really for the first time, abject poverty, who helped me to reflect and kind of discern how God was kind of working in my life, where God was in this community, and then really to invite me to consider giving my life to the service of others. In terms of my own kind of ministry today as a vocation director, while there's some kind of distinct elements of what a vocation director does, walking with candidates and helping them to discern and also kind of trying to figure out if they're a fit for religious life. Vocation ministry shares a lot of the same kind of principles and operates very much in the same way in terms of youth and young adult ministry. Today with less brothers, priests, and sisters, our presence isn't necessarily in every community, but we've had to really reflect on where and when can we engage with youth in meaningful contexts, and where are those kind of spaces and times in which they're open to kind of God's invitations. So for me in my ministry, direct service opportunities where youth are really serving the local needs of communities, where they're going to soup kitchens, where they're going and making visits to the homebound, are great opportunities for vocation ministers and myself to accompany youth in a way in which they're really making a difference in the lives of people, and then helping them to, like you said, Megan, theologically reflect on where is God in all this? Where do you see God in other people? What did you feel? What did you think while you were serving these people? And I really believe in these kind of experiences. Youth are really open to thinking about what would it be like to do this full time? What would it be like to wake up every day and to commit your life to the service of others? So I really see in terms of vocation ministry and youth ministry, it's almost kind of one and the same. The vocation minister just kind of brings a distinct, in a way, attentiveness or attention or to invitation. What is God's invitation in all of this?
Well, thank you very much. Very profound reflection, Brother Peter, from your own experience and from your interaction with young people now. I wonder, Deacon Don, do you have any reactions, responses before our next break?
Well, I think the idea of yourself, Megan, and Brother Peter, there's a community of mission and vocation. I want to key up on what Brother Peter said. It's all about invitations.
Yeah.
So I asked to come on this program because I want to invite more people to come with me to Africa. I have 10 board members, adult board members. I have one relatively young board member that helps our organization, and I want some youth. I think that confirmation for me is the spiritual kick up that should last for a long time.
Yeah.
I think if we're honest, there would be many who say that we need more youth involved in today's church. And how does that happen?
Yeah.
Well, my question is, how do I get more youth involved in my ministry in Uganda, East Africa?
Right.
I keep inviting adults. I now have about 300 helpers that work with me. We have maybe 30 clinics that depend upon people helping.
Mm-hmm.
When I come to a youth group at Wayside, for instance, to talk about our work, my work, I get out of 30 high school age kids, I get 20 of them that are ready to sign up. All we'd have to do is pay the $1,600 airfare and bring them. And just like you, Megan, I think their life would be forever changed.
Yeah, big trajectory change.
I asked Brother Peter if we could meet together, and we got together for a lunch not too long ago. And the question is, what's the connection between vocations and mission?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm glad to have this program today because I do think there are some connections. And I think later in the show, we'll dig into those.
Yeah, I was just going to mention something that we talked about when we were preparing for the show today. I think building on that lunch you had was the idea that the seed is already within the heart of so many young people. You know, if people are worried about there's not enough young people in the church today, it is a common refrain. I have heard it. You know, it's not for lack of God's presence. It's not for lack of God's call. It's that we need to be kind of watering those seeds. We need to be encouraging it. In my own reflection on visiting schools and youth groups and things, kids are very interested, but we need to kind of light that fire under their butts, give them opportunities to have that experience and to reflect on it, as Brother Peter said. If you let kind of young people take the lead, there's no end. Let young people, really take ownership of their faith. New things will happen for sure. All right, well, it is time for our next break. I'll be back in just a moment to continue our conversation about youth and mission. Don't go away.
Did you know that Catholic Charities accepts car donations? If you're ready to free up space in your garage and put a stop to all those expenses that go along with owning a car, we will gratefully accept your donation, whether the car is running or not. You choose a pickup time that is convenient for you, and we will make the donation as easy as possible free of charge. You'll receive a charitable donation receipt as well. We accept all types of vehicles nationwide, and you will know that your donation is made to Catholic Charities, an agency you can trust. To learn more about donating your car, call 877-786-4483. That's 877-786-4483. Thank you.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
Welcome back to Mission Matters Live. I am Megan Mio, Director of the Global Mission Office in the Archdiocese of Chicago, and you're listening to WNDZ 750 AM. I'm here with Deacon Don Grossnickle, who is Executive Director of the MicroFinance Alliance Africa Projects Foundation, and Brother Peter Lamick, who is Director of the Vocation Ministry for the Viatorians. We're continuing our panel discussion on the topic of youth and mission. In our last segment, we considered some key reflections from Brother Peter about the evolving state of vocation ministry and youth ministry, how similar those two can be, and how we engage young people in service with their brothers and sisters. I'm hopefully now, having heard a little bit from me, a little bit from Brother Peter, now it's time we can hear from Deacon Don, who very generously let us take the lead on this panel, but I know you have a lot that you can share as well. So please share us your reflections as a deacon, a former administrator, teacher, and now the executive director of a mission-oriented organization. You had shared at the end of our last segment invitations to get people involved in it. What are some ideas that we can use to engage young people in mission? Deacon Don.
Well, the first idea is to believe that everybody is youthful. I'm 75 years old. I've been a deacon for 35 years, and I have never been more excited about my work in Uganda or as a deacon. Brother Peter and I, with vocations, are representatives. So we walk among God's people. I like to tell a little story about how mission kind of comes from the person and also comes from experiences. So my second journey to Uganda, East Africa, I was invited to be the deacon of a mass and actually to prepare the homily for a secondary school of about 300 to 400 African students. And the topic that I chose centered around the book that I had picked up at the airport. It's 24 hours, by the way, to ride airplanes to get to Uganda from Chicago. So I picked up a book called A Selfish Plan to Change the World by Jeffrey Dillon. And so I preached about that, and I asked the students a rhetorical question. I said, well, students, do you think it's a good idea for you to be selfish? And then I heard lots of moans and groans, and the answer was no. Well, Jeffrey Dillon believes that a selfish plan to change the world connects with our psychology, our deep psychology of self-actualization, and that each of us has a calling, God's gift to us in our person, our talents, our resources, to do something to positively change the world. And so it's kind of a spin on the word selfish. It means that all of us have a self given to us by God. And if we apply ourselves into changing the world can become changed. So with my opportunity there to talk about the youth in Uganda, I really invited them also to become part of a deacon from the Archdiocese of Chicago coming to invite them to do missionary work in their own country. So I think you can see that it's really kind of an upside down arrangement. And I think that that's kind of what my message is today. My message today is that no matter what it takes, I want to invite more and more young adults who are thinking about themselves and their future and the gift that God is to them, expressing it with some type of opportunity that is presented to them. And that's a challenge that I have. And I asked to be on this program because I really would think that the future of my ministry in Uganda is bright. There are 2,000 clinics, and mothers and babies are underserved. They're often too poor to afford the most simple medical procedures. And our mission basically is to provide opportunities for them to get the help. So what can young people do to help me help the clinical workers in Uganda, East Africa? That's a big challenge. Well, working back to my career as a high school teacher, as I think has been mentioned a couple times here, it was not very difficult when high school kids get empowered and motivated to do wonderful things. And I'm just thinking somehow there's a disconnect, there's a bridge, and I'm not exactly sure how I can work in my mission to connect young people in it. And young people also can mean college age or high school age, which is a ripe time for people to be looking at the bigger world and asking the question, how do they fit in? So I think this also fits into this vocation question, that it seems like it's an avalanche, okay, of how it starts small. Certainly my work in Uganda started small and then blossomed. I think perhaps more opportunities for young people to look at vocational interests and how a vocation, like if you wanted to be a physician or a nurse or some kind of direct missionary, how could that happen? So I think we want to provide opportunities for, as you say, mentoring and adults. I think parents. I'll leave my segment here by saying that parents can have a great opportunity to encourage young people and to stay focused on bringing out their talents, affirming their talents, and then together with teachers and counselors and vocational people, look at the wider picture. I just know that today in colleges, there are many opportunities for, just as you say, Megan, when you went on a study trip abroad. Okay, there are many today who are combining study trips like that into vocational explorations and in the medical field in particular. If you want to become a physician, very often. And also, I think from a practical standpoint, I know that St. Viator has community service required of students. What a great opportunity, once again, for young people to enjoy the gift of service, and once again to reflect, what does it mean? How fulfilling is it, with the gifts that we have? So I think I'm bent on trying to work with Brother Peter and lots of other people, trying to say, how can I connect young people to specifically to my work in Uganda?
An excellent opportunity for mission, engagement with mission, with the MAP Foundation. Wonderful. Well, we do have a minute or two left in this segment, so I wonder, Brother Peter, any reactions, reflections on what Deacon Don had to say?
Yeah, Deacon Don talked about invitation and the role of invitation. And for effective youth ministry and vocation ministry, you really need to become a missionary and have a missionary mentality of going out to young people and inviting them to get involved, whether it's to leadership, whether it's to a particular event, and being involved in youth ministry. If you don't invite, they don't come. And I've seen some tremendous fruits with a real attentiveness to invitation over the last about 6-7 years, where we've had a number of young people actually do missionary work around the world. Young people who've discerned a vocation to religious life and the priesthood. And just being at St. Viator High School, there have been some who've come to discern with the Viatorians, some who've discerned to try out the Franciscans. Some are in the seminary right now. And so when you enculturate invitation and getting youth involved and engaged in meaningful ways, those seeds open up, and you can see the real blossoming of the young people, and in a way, real fruits of commitment and making a difference in the world.
Yeah, I can totally agree with what you shared. Absolutely. I would sort of build on that a little bit also to talk about the word companionship came to my mind too. The invitation comes with a relationship, right? That you know me, and I'm sharing something that I think that you would enjoy, or something that you'd be really good at. Those relationships come kind of with that hope for companionship, I think, of somebody who's going to say, well, I know you're, especially a young person, a teenager, a young adult, is trying to make some of these big decisions in their lives, and they're looking desperate for companions, for somebody who's going to help guide them, not tell them what they're going to do, but who's going to walk with them. Somebody who can say, well, let me tell you about what I do and see if you think that that's interesting, or let me introduce you to somebody who does this other work, or let me tell you about things that are happening that you want to get involved in, because they'll help you to decide what you want to do. And I'll be happy to talk about it with you afterwards, or whatever. Those kinds of opportunities for relationship building. The invitation is key, though. The sense of, yes, you've got something to give, that Deacon Don talked about. Young people, we need you. And this is the way Pope Francis talks a lot when he talks to young people about what a gift youth in the church is, and that it is always needed. We always need that energy and those new ideas, new blood, if you will, in the church. And sometimes it can be challenging, but it hopefully will lead to so much more that the Holy Spirit can do. Well, it's time for our last break, but we'll be back to continue and conclude our panel discussion between the three of us. Well, hopefully we'll have some practical ideas to share with you all in just a moment. So stay tuned. Come right back.
Community is core to Catholic Charities' founding mission. For more than 100 years, we have met people and families where they are, serving anyone in need, regardless of their faith, gender, race, or ethnicity. As our world absorbs the economic, political, and social aftershocks of the pandemic, 50% or more of the 6 million people living in Cook and Lake counties have little or no savings. They are a paycheck away from zero. We are deeply grateful to everyone in the Catholic Charities community who partners with us to alleviate the suffering of the people we serve and offer them a better path forward. We are witnessing a message of mercy and hope to a world very much in need. Learn more at CatholicCharities.net.
I can't imagine myself going into any other school.
Our school fosters growth by being a backbone to our family.
My kids are incredibly well-rounded. I see a lot of kindness in them on a daily basis.
One of the things I think Catholic schools do well is personalize the learning experience. You can hear joy in the classrooms.
I feel that I'm happy that I am in this kind of school.
Our school communities provide students with academic excellence and character education in a supportive and stable learning environment. Come see for yourself. Visit artchicago.org/findaschool.
For more than 20 years, Catholic Charities Adult Protective Services has been advocating for seniors who are the victims of abuse, neglect, confinement, or financial exploitation. With our partners at local, city, and state agencies, our trained case managers follow through on every concern that is brought to our attention in a cooperative way to ensure that our seniors are safe and protected. According to the Illinois Department on Aging, last year nearly 21,000 cases of elder abuse were reported in Illinois. Of these, only 5% were reported by seniors themselves. So raising awareness is an important part of this issue. If you are concerned about a senior you know, call 800-252-8966. That's 800-252-8966. With your help, we can stop elder abuse and look out for the seniors in our lives.
Welcome back to Mission Matters Live. I am Megan Mio, Director of the Global Mission Office in the Archdiocese of Chicago, and I'm here with Brother Peter Lamick, Vocation Director for the Viatorians, and Deacon Don Grossnickle, ministering at Our Lady of the Wayside Parish and Executive Director of the MicroFinance Alliance Africa Projects Foundation. Now, we have been discussing, we've had an opportunity, each of the three of us, to speak about this topic of youth and mission. And I feel like I think all three of us are very optimistic, very hopeful. We have a lot of energy about young people. But I think looming in the background, we know there's challenges. There's challenges to making this really happen, getting that connection. Letting that light bulb go off in a young person's mind, that realization that they have so much to give, that they're part of a community that needs them. So I just wanted to name that because I think that I personally do prefer to focus on the positive, but we do need to identify these challenges because I think if our audience are folks who are coordinating youth ministry, young adult ministry in parishes and schools, that they know well what these challenges are. We did, I think, kind of allude to them at times. How many opportunities do we have to really meaningfully engage with young people? Those of us who really want that are looking for that opportunity, a vocation minister, for example, and other folks in leadership, ministry leadership, opportunities to present ideas and information to young people. I mentioned in my own panel, I don't get invited often to schools or events, but when I do, I've got lots to share, so I wish there were more opportunities for that. And the other thing kind of related to that, limited resources. A lot of parishes, the youth minister is the last thing they can afford. So that isn't so common these days, unfortunately, in our parishes. But what I thought we could do in our last segment here is talk about some practical ideas. How can we get youth and mission together? And I know from all of our experiences that there are things we can do. So I'm going to just open it up for whoever would like to respond. What are some practical ideas that you do have, some tips for people in ministry? Whoever would like to start.
I think a place to start is trying to answer the question, what are the real needs of the community in which I'm ministering? Mm-hmm. Doing an inventory of the service organizations that are already trying to meet the needs of people in the community. Mm-hmm. Just to share one story, about 7-8 years ago, we started a service program at St. Viator High School called Service and Song. And it was a week-long service program that introduced 5th through 8th graders to service. And our high school students would be the kind of the small group leaders that would go out to all these different service sites with the young people to serve alongside them and to kind of help them kind of know and understand what they were doing. And one organization we connected with was through Wheeling Township that provided services to the homebound for local residents. And there was a woman there who we got connected with, whose husband had suffered a stroke, and she couldn't do any yard work. She couldn't take care of parts of the house anymore. And we brought a group of youth there who could help do some of the things that she couldn't do, and to be able to sit with her, to listen to her story, and to really encounter a person who was in need, who was struggling, and for them to recognize how important and meaningful their participation was. And in those moments, that's when kind of the light bulb does go off, where for a lot of youth, where their faith actually begins to make sense, where they see, this is why we take time to pray. This is why we take time to try to listen to where is God inviting me? Who is God inviting me to help? It all comes together when youth, along with ministers, are encountering people who are in need, encountering the reality of people suffering, and trying to meet their needs, and then taking time to really take a look at, well, where was God in all this? And for a lot of them, it's, how are you, Christ's hands and feet? How are you God's answer to a particular person's need?
It's profound.
Great story. And I'll jump in here with another concept. I think is that I'm the rare permanent deacon in Africa. You may know that the African bishops have not welcomed the permanent diaconate to any extent. And in my work there, I serve as many as 6 or 7 African bishops helping with work that needs to be done. My way of saying this morning, I think, is to invite the deacons of the Archdiocese, to become more mission-oriented. My own trajectory over my 35 years has done parish work. I've served on the staff of the Archdiocese. I've worked downtown. I was called to do work in Uganda. Just think about it. If we have over 600 deacons and deacon wives working, we've got 1,200 that might look beyond the ministry of community service here in the church. So I think maybe programmatically we can do some things, some tools we can do some things, some programs, some things like my granddaughter did a project where she helped 4 elementary school kids in Uganda whose families were disaffected by a massacre 2 months ago. In the Congo, some rebels came across the border and killed 35 students in Kasese, where actually we're doing ministry work in a clinic. And so she started a garage sale and made about $200. So $200 were contributed by somebody else. So for $400, we now have really lifted up the families of those that were killed. So their brothers and sisters are now going to be going to school, and they wouldn't have otherwise because of this little garage sale. So there are many examples, like Wayside Kids did another project. So the opportunities are there. So I think we have to ask our faculty members, our counselors, to think outside the box sometimes. We talked about Christian Family Movement as a great opportunity for kids to become involved with their parents in service projects. I know our children were raised that way. So I think, yes, there are some things the youth ministries can do. I'm also thinking that today in Renew My Church, that parishes can become advantaged. Think about this, that 2 or 3 smaller parishes can come together with their youth ministries, and maybe, once again, Megan, you can be invited to go and talk to a larger group. So what might appear as a limiting factor in today's church might be a new opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking of something I wanted to share that is something along those lines, the idea of partnership. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I don't have to come up with the whole plan of exactly what we're going to do, who we're going to work with, blah, blah, blah. There are people doing good work, as Brother Peter had said, and if you don't know in your area who are good organizations we can work with, or good Catholic organizations or whatever, any kind of service, contact me, contact us at the Archdiocese. Either I myself or my colleagues in the Human Dignity and Solidarity group. We've got contacts with Catholic Charities, things like that. We can find excellent opportunities for exposure to service with our brothers and sisters. If we're talking about teenagers, sometimes global mission is it's a big step. So let's not quite go there. Although travel isn't the only way to be engaged in global mission. As Deacon Don just shared, you can get involved in it, especially with technology these days, in a way that doesn't require travel. But partnership is a way to say, first of all, we don't do anything alone. But then second of all, you utilize the expertise of folks who are already engaged in this mission. If you work with religious congregations, if we work with parish ministries, there's somebody who's already kind of coordinating. It's another way to expand the relationships and to have a young person see somebody who's already engaged in this mission, get to know them, think about how they can develop a new form of that ministry that engages teens or young adults, and the creativity involved in that, and the planning, and especially if we don't have a full-time paid youth minister. Everybody's volunteers. It's tricky, but if we kind of work together, it's not as big of a task to do. And I also just want to really reiterate, young people are missionaries to one another. That the more we can kind of encourage a young person to say, we need you to lead, because your own, your young people your age better than anybody, that they can also be contributing something really, really important in this process. Now, before we leave, we've just got a few minutes left, but I wanted to make sure we have enough time here to say you're both involved in such important and wonderful ministries, and this is one place, in fact, that folks could look for a partner, the 2 organizations you represent. So, Brother Peter, where could people go to learn a little more about the Viatorians? Please share with us.
So we do have our website, just Viatorians.com. Viatorians. And to get a more of a kind of a close-up look, you can also follow me on Instagram at BRPETERCSV. I usually try to kind of take pictures, short little videos when I'm doing ministry and different events, which kind of can give people a sense of what it's like to live, to be a brother, what it's like to be involved in youth ministry. So yeah, kind of the big picture, Viatorians.com, and then you could follow me on Instagram to kind of get the close-up look.
Awesome. Okay, and Deacon Don, tell us about the MAP Foundation. How can we learn more?
www.mapfoundation.org or to my blog, www.maap.org. We'll get you to our blog.
Awesome. Yeah, you know what? I think it's great. Social media can be a tool also for all of this ministries that we've been talking about too. You got to make sure the young people are there. But social media can be an excellent tool to just share what it's like to do your work. So thank you so much, Brother Peter. Thank you very much, Deacon Don. It's been wonderful to have you. I hope we shared some good ideas with folks. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, you're very welcome. We know that the Holy Spirit will continue to guide our church and our mission. May each of our ministries continue to draw in young people. And thank you for listening. And remember, always be on mission.